Hey everyone, so I just wanted to do a quick tip video on quality assurance and e-learning. So when I first started out as an instructional designer, I definitely thought that developing the initial module was going to be the longest amount of time, but over my time as an instructional designer, I've really realized that the QA process is definitely a lot longer and it can take quite a bit of time. It takes a lot of concentration, and I guess the intent of this video is to share with you how you can make that process easier. So at Belvista Studios, we've come up with some tips on how to make it a better process for us to ensure that it doesn't take a lot of time, but it also enables us to have the quality that we want. So it's really important for us that we don't miss little things. We want to send out our projects and finalize projects so they're at the best quality that they can be. So I really hope this video is useful for you. I'm just going to go through what we do at Belvista Studios, and yeah, let's do it. So the first tip that I have is when you're developing a module, rather than just QAing the module straight after you finish development, I would 100% recommend taking a break. So just getting away from your computer, whether it's having a coffee, talking to a friend, going for a walk and getting some fresh air. I find it really useful just to get my head out of the module and then come back with a fresh perspective, because you'll often find a lot more and you'll see it in a new way. If you just do it straight after development, you may miss certain things. So yeah, take a break to gain a fresh perspective in whatever form that looks like for you and what works. Have a QA sidekick. So this is super important. If you are developing a module, it's really important that you have someone else who hasn't been throughout the whole process of development, or someone who hasn't created the storyboard to look at the module from an entirely new perspective. So someone who hasn't seen it before, they're likely to pick up on things that may not make sense, or spelling errors that you've missed, and just certain things that you may not see. So find someone that can check it for you, and a really great way for them to check it is outside of your development program. So to upload it as for example in Storyline, do a temp share so that people can view it on their browser, and just have someone view it as if they were the end user so they get the full experience of what the module will be like. And once they pick up on things, they can give it back to you and you can implement the changes. Another really useful thing to have is a QA checklist. So just have a checklist that says, say, spelling's correct, punctuation's correct, the navigation within the module works, and if you have something like that, for every module that you can create, you can go through that checklist and make sure that you haven't missed anything. And that checklist may be different for everyone, so we've got a generic checklist that I've shared through a blog, so you're more than welcome to use that. But obviously every company and every client that you have will have different specifications, so you may need to create a different checklist for each client, but just having that there is so useful. Another thing to check is the user experience. So when you have someone else checking your module, get them to really act like as if they are the end user and make sure that everything makes sense. So an example of this is I created an interaction that I thought made complete sense, and I thought it was awesome. A colleague checked it and they had no idea what to do. So the instructions obviously weren't clear enough. And because I'd been developing for so long, it was so clear in my head, but when someone else had a go at it, it just didn't make sense. So have someone else have a look at the interactions that you've made and the navigation for your module, just to make sure that it's definitely going to make sense for your end user, because you want to find out before you release it. Another one that can be easy to forget is referencing. So if you've had images from other authors or quotes, make sure you reference within your module, and it's a really good thing to check prior to it getting to those final stages. Another thing to consider is accessibility. So depending on the module that you're creating and who your client is, they may have different levels of accessibility that they require. So an example is the A, AA and AAA accessibility. You can find these formal checklists online, but yeah, really find out what your client needs and use those formal checklists to make sure that it meets accessibility. So an example of one that we've created recently is we had AA accessibility. So there were certain things we had to do, which included making sure that all of the buttons were labeled. So it wasn't just an icon that someone had to figure out how to use or what it meant. We had to make sure we labeled things and it was really clear what everything meant. Keyboard navigation, so we had to make sure that the whole course could be navigated through a keyboard, and things like that can really change the way you develop your modules. So find out early on what those specifications are so that you can develop to meet those requirements. Okay, so that's it for this video on QAing e-learning modules. I really hope it added value to you. If anyone has any tips out there, please share. I'd love to hear about it. Let's generate a conversation about how we can best QA modules to make sure they are really good quality. And yeah, thank you so much, and I hope to hear from some of you.